as has been everyone. And so I am going to very quickly introduce just say a little bit about the folks on this next panel, and then Dr. Hernandez will take over. I was trying to push Glennis out the door. She had someplace she had to be, so that's why I'm still kind of getting ready. So Dr. Hernandez is an assistant professor in the Department of Community Health and Preventive Medicine and the interim director of the Center for Maternal Health Equity at Morehouse School of Medicine. And she is going to tell you more about her as this panel goes forward. So Dr. Hernandez, I am turning this over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bug, and thank you to Rose and Ro for this wonderful conference. As Dr. Bug mentioned, Natalie Hernandez, I'm the interim director for our Morehouse School of Medicine Center for Maternal Health Equity. We were established in 2019 through state funds to address inequities in maternal health. Our mission is to pursue equity in maternal health by reducing maternal morbidity and mortality locally, nationally, and globally. And we do this through community academic partnerships, developing a competitive translational program, and offering interdisciplinary and professional training. I'm really excited to be able to present our esteemed panelists. But before we get into that, I just wanted to sort of set the stage for why we're having this conversation. As some of you already may know, the stats are against Black birthing persons. They are 3 to 4 times more likely to die during pregnancy, childbirth, and the postpartum period. But Black women are also two times more likely to experience severe maternal morbidity, defined by the CDC as adverse conditions caused or worsened by pregnancy. And these can be things such as cardiac arrest, extreme blood loss, aneurysm, sepsis, ruptured uterus, eclampsia, preeclampsia. And these occurrences are often called near misses. Much of the focus in maternal mortality is on the physical causes, but mental health deserves a more prominent role in this conversation. The links between mental health problems and maternal health are a major cause of concern as they directly or indirectly increase maternal morbidity and mortality. And although underreported and neglected, psychiatric disorders can happen in pregnant women and following childbirth, and this increases the risk of death from obstetric and medical conditions. Today's conversation is centered on mental health and birth trauma. Birth trauma is a shorthand phrase for post-traumatic stress disorder after childbirth. We use it for women who have symptoms of PTSD, but not enough for a full diagnosis. It's not enough, however, to simply and just barely survive childbirth. There are a range of experiences that cause emotional distress severe enough to manifest with symptoms, and that is why we are here and have this panel. Our esteemed panel of birth justice workers are as follows. We have Brandi Frazier from Be Empowered Mama, Ashunti Duncan, who's a mom of 2 and who will share about her lived experience, Dr. Burse, who is the CEO and principal strategist of 6 Dimensions, and Fatima Muhammad, who is the founder of Modaba Moms, Dads, and Babies. So I want each of them to go around and introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about you. So we'll start with Ashunti.
Hi, I'm Ashunti Duncan. Like she mentioned, I'm a mom of 2. I actually have a 2-year-old and now 5-year-old. I am a program manager. I am recently divorced, and I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Brandi?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Brandi Frazier. I am a mom of 1 awesome baby boy, and I am a wife, and I am also a master educator, and I am a huge advocate for moms and a lot more. And I can't wait to discuss some amazing things with all of you today in terms of advocacy. Let's go.
Thank you so much. Fatima?
Greetings, everyone. I'm Fatima Muhammad and I'm here in the Phoenix community. I'm a wife. I have twins that I did not give birth to, but through my husband, and a community advocate, and like she said, the founder of Modabe, which is a maternal and child health organization here in the Phoenix area. And I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Burse?
Good afternoon. I'm so glad to be here. And everyone said that they're a mom, and you all can see that I am as well. This one just always decides to come on screen when he hears my voice, I think. So I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and Dr. Bug is smiling because she helped me through my breastfeeding woes with both of my babies. And I also am the executive producer of Laboring with Hope, the film that I hope everyone had an opportunity to watch before coming on today.
Thank you all so much. And as everyone disclosed their status, I am a mother of 2 beautiful children. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son, and Dr. Bug knows them because they love being around Dr. Bug, or they call Mama Bug. So we'll start with Brandi. I was on a panel with you before, and you shared a lot about your experiences, and I just want this audience to hear about that. So please share your postpartum experience and how you advocated to save your life, and how you would encourage other mothers to advocate for themselves in similar situations.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So just to give some context about my postpartum story and what just really led me to create the Empowered Mama, I've got to give you the facts. So I was pregnant, a first-time mom during the pandemic, and it was a game changer. You have the whole thing set up when you get pregnant, how it's going to go from your baby shower to everything else and the experience, and it was nothing like that. So I'll just take it back to kind of build. When I first found out I was pregnant, got the positive test, ended up going in to confirm pregnancy with my OB. So the OB who I was seeing, she had been my GYN for about 5 years. So the relationship was what it needed to be. A GYN visit, I don't need the personalization. I come in, we get it done, and I leave, right? So when it came time for that, I just knew it was going to be just this upgrade of care. My husband and I go in right before everything shut down, and we're excited. And she walks through the door and she said, "Okay, so you're pregnant." I'm like, "Yeah, we're pregnant. We have been trying, yes." And she's like, "Okay, do you have a cat?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Okay, if you have a cat, don't touch cat litter. Are you taking any prenatal?" I'm like, "Yeah, I actually have questions about the one I take." She's like, "Just take any one. It doesn't matter. Here's a packet about what not to do. I'll see you in 4 weeks." I said, "Wait, what?" Entire list. Like, we planned this baby. We couldn't read. We were so excited and ready to talk about it. And that was our first visit. So as we walked out the door to go schedule our 4-week visit, I told my husband, I'm not happy about what happened. And it just didn't sit right with me. She came out and she was walking by and she's like, "Bye." I said, no. I said, "You know what? Can I talk to you for a second?" She said, "Sure." I said, "I was not happy with what happened during our first visit. Okay. We just found out we were pregnant. We're excited. And my husband had questions. I had questions. And we really felt like you blew us off." She said, "Fine." So she took me into another room and she took us in there and we ran through our questions. And it was just, she just felt like, okay, I'm here to answer the question. So that was the very first piece. I had to give you context. So throughout my pregnancy, it did not stop from there. Every single appointment, I literally had to go in there feeling as if I'm armored with questions. And then remember, the pandemic happened. My husband can't come anymore. I'm by myself. He's in the car via FaceTime. And FaceTime, guess what? My signal wasn't the best. So he was in and out on what he was even hearing. But every single time I would go in there, it was almost like she had an attitude. I felt like at times I had to stand by the door to say, "Wait, before you go, I have more questions." And the reason I stuck with her was because she promised she would be the one to deliver my baby. We all know this now, if there's any doctors in the audience, midwives, for a fact, you see at least 22 different midwives, 17 OBs, and guess what? When you deliver, whoever's on call will be the person to deliver your baby. I did not want that for my first birthing experience. I wanted that person from the very beginning to the end. So I endured this with her. So let's fast forward. So she promised me, I would be the one to deliver your baby, Brandi. Yes, for sure. I said, okay. Whew, every time, let's go. Every time I went in, I said a quick prayer and I said, here we go. And I got to about 37 weeks and I was carrying pretty big. My baby was definitely huge. My belly was out to here. And she told me this. She said, we might need to consider a C-section because he's going to be a big boy. Wait, what? I said, wait, why would we need to consider a C-section? Like, there's nothing medically wrong. And she said, well, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, but you know, he's posterior facing, so it's going to be a very hard labor. You're going to labor for hours and he's huge. I said, listen, no, we're not going to talk about a cesarean unless there's a medical need for it. I said, women push out 8, 9, 10-pound babies every day. So what we're not going to do is talk about a cesarean. She said, okay, fine. I said, geez, I'm like, I can't make this up. So I go into labor. I go into labor at 39 weeks and 2 days. And guess what? She didn't deliver my baby. She had promised. I endured all this with her and she didn't even deliver my baby. It ended up being a midwife who I had never met from a completely different practice. And you know what? Everything happens for a reason. That long, she said, treacherous labor I was gonna have, I pushed out an 8-pound, 10-ounce, 21-inch baby in 20 minutes, 11 contractions like a boss. So I said, wait a minute, you're not gonna tell me how I'm gonna deliver. Like doctors, I don't care who you are, and I love you to death, but you determine, mama, on how your experience is gonna be. I didn't let what she put in my head just have me seriously feel anxiety about that day. So I had a beautiful labor experience. I could not tell you enough. It was so amazing. I got my baby out. 13 days later, we're home and, you know, we're going through the newborn trenches and I felt a slight headache behind my left eye. I said, this feels kind of weird. Meanwhile, in my second trimester, I bought myself a blood pressure cuff off of Amazon and I was checking my blood pressure a couple times a week. Granted, I never had blood pressure issues in my life. I worked out, I ate healthy. However, I know my family history and I know what could happen because we have it on both sides. And I remember telling my doctor about it. And she said, why do you have a blood pressure cuff? I said, because I don't think every 4 weeks is enough for you to check my blood pressure. And she said, okay, fine. And that was it. And then we fast forward to then. So when I had that slight headache 13 days after having my baby, I said to myself, like, you know what? This feels off. This feels off. Let me check my blood pressure really quick. Nothing's probably wrong. I checked my blood pressure, I step away, and it was astronomically high. It was like 165 over 106. And I said, whoa, okay, let me call the doctor. I called my doctor. She said, come in. I go into the doctor's office to see her, and she has her nurse take my blood pressure manually. So she puts the cup on my arm and she takes it. And she takes it off and she said, your blood pressure is normal. It's like 117 over 72. I said, wait, what? 117 over 7? First of all, even before pregnancy at my healthiest, it's never been that low. So I said, okay. So my doctor comes in and she's like, okay, sweetie, everything is sweetie. Like, oh, that made me cringe. Okay, sweetie, you know, your blood pressure is normal. So, you know, you're fine. I said, wait, listen. I said, I think your nurse is taking inaccurate blood pressure readings. She said, no, it's not, it's impossible. She can't be. I said, yes, I think she is. I said, can you take my blood pressure? She said, what? My nurse just took it. I said, no, can you take it? Because I took it at home and this is a major difference here. She said, fine. So she has an attitude. She puts the cuff on me. Here's the thing. I'm okay to be wrong. Please make me wrong. If I'm wrong, yes, I can go home. She puts the cuff on, she pumps it up. She has her mask on because we're still during COVID, the shutdown. And she takes my blood pressure. And then she looks at me. She takes her mask off and she said, it's actually higher than what you originally said. This is postpartum preeclampsia. I need you to get to Northside Hospital right now. And she said, Brandi, if you hadn't come in here today, you could have died from a seizure or stroke over the weekend. If you had not come in here today, I got chills saying this, you could have died from a seizure or stroke over the weekend. So I said, whoa, okay. So they send me straight to Northside Hospital. I couldn't go home. My husband had drove me to the doctor. So we went straight to the emergency and they admitted me. When I say it was truly the worst 3 days of my life, they put me on a magnesium drip. That same slight headache that I had spread over my entire head. I'm taking Percocets. I had never taken anything like this in my life. Percocets were not working. 2 Percocets every 4 hours. And I'm begging them. I said, please help me. My doctor comes in and she's like, you know, it's just gonna have to run its course. So the magnesium drip is happening. I'm in so much pain. I'm ripped away from my baby. That's the most important part. I'm a new mom and it was horrendous. Ended up getting out and they got my blood pressure kind of stable, but it wasn't really low, but it wasn't normal. So they put me on 2 different blood pressure medications that I actually just got off of a month ago. So this was over almost a year ago now. And I just stopped taking the blood pressure medications 1 month ago. And from that experience there, that changed the game for me. I got home and I got back to mothering. What do? Life doesn't stop. I need to breastfeed. I need to see my baby. My pelvis feels like it's about to drop out again because granted, I pushed that big boy out, but I'm hurting and I don't feel good. And a couple of days after that, I literally broke down in tears on my way to Target. My husband's like, what's wrong? That I had PTSD. I just started having flashbacks of what happened in the hospital and how she told me if I didn't come in that day, I could have died. And what she meant was, if you didn't challenge me and tell me to take your blood pressure again, something could have happened. So that was my postpartum experience. And that's what birthed, honestly, Be Empowered Mama. So my experience, and we talk about that, I'm a master educator, corporate trainer, I'm a lecturer of communication. I do all this training and development for the corporate world and getting these big executives ready. I said, no, it's time for me to take that to moms. I want moms to know how to confidently use their voice, how to advocate for themselves, what to be able to do. I'm pouring into these millionaires, thousandaires, when moms are dying every single day because some moms don't have the voice or maybe even the confidence just to say, maybe check that one more time. We feel like we're bothering them. So if I had to say a few things I would tell moms to do, it's number one, do your research and ask a million questions. That's the first thing. If you're going to be confident to ask or challenge anything when it comes to your healthcare or your medical care, you have to know what you're talking about because knowledge builds confidence. The more you know, the confidence you feel about asking. Ask a million questions. There is no dumb question. If you have something to say or you feel a certain way, mama, speak up immediately. If you have a friend who's in that situation, speak up for them immediately if you are there. If you have a spouse, same thing. The next thing I would tell moms, if you're going to talk about advocacy and the importance of just honestly, truly knowing what's going on with your body, own your health and listen to your body. Your body whispers symptoms. It whispers symptoms, and you are the subject matter expert, the SME on you. No one can tell me, not on this panel, not in this entire summit, anything about me that I don't already know. And that's how you have to feel when it comes to your care. Yes, they wear the white coats, and yes, the white coat syndrome is actually a real syndrome that you can look into and read about. But knowing yourself, you know when something's not right. Like when I said that headache creeped in, I knew something wasn't right. So guess what? You're not going to tell me something's right when I know my body. So own your health and listen to your body. The next thing will be, I'll just give one more, practice what I call the bar method. So not tequila, wine, margaritas, we're not talking about that, all right? We're talking about bar, B. Is this the best option for me and my health? When they present a procedure, a medication, is this the best option for me or the health of my baby? Can you answer that? Yes, okay. Next, the A. So we have A, what are the alternatives? So you're telling me I should be induced today, or you're telling me I need to take this medication and stop taking it at this date. What are the alternatives to going a natural holistic route? What are the alternatives to saying no to any of this? Lastly, R, what are the risks? What are my risks if I say I'm not doing nothing? If I say, nope, I'm going to just wait this out. I'm going to labor down. You're not going to induce me. You're not going to do whatever it is that they're asking you to do. Apply this anywhere. And to be honest, this could be applied to business as well. But we're in the birthing business. So let's talk about it. When we're giving birth, we're into that too. And you have to be able to say, what are the risks? What are the risks if I say no? And if they answer that confidently to your liking and you feel comfortable, then proceed. That's how you do it. And then wait, one more bonus one before I pass, but I'm sorry I'm talking aloud. One more is feel free to break up at any time. Guess what? Breakups are hard. We've gotten some breakups under our belts, okay? We're mamas, and what if you're a male on here too, you've had it too, so you're advocating for other people as well. Breakups are hard, but guess what? I'd rather you be hurt than me. Break up at any time. If you feel like it's not right, their personality doesn't fit, their birth philosophies don't match with yours, feel free to chuck the deuces and say, you know what? This isn't working out. And that's one thing I'm passionate about, making sure mamas are confident and they know how to do this. And they feel like, yes, I can be able to say no. I don't have to settle. Because one thing you should not ever settle about is your medical care and how you're being treated. So I'll leave it right there.
Oh man, Brandi, thank you. That was so powerful. And I love the practical advice that you gave, because oftentimes we go to summits and we hear about experiences, but these are really great tips. And I think some people put it in the comments and look at all the things that people are saying in the chat for you. But thank you so much for sharing your story. Ashunti, you know, your after-birth experience was filled with a lot of stressors and responsibilities, which contributed to you having a difficult time after your pregnancy. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you went through, and how did leaning on your supports help you during your postpartum journey?
Yes.
Ashunti, you're breaking up. We're having a little bit of difficulty hearing you.
4 weeks pregnant. So about 32 weeks, I went for a checkup, and can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's better.
Yes.
That's better. And we want to see your face, but if
Okay, can you?
yes, we can. Yes.
Okay. So yes, my son's heart rate was about 210 when I went to the for my appointment around 32 weeks. And they didn't say anything. And of course, as a first-time mom, I've joined the first-time moms program. So I had a nurse that kind of came to the house, kind of got me ready to be a mom. But so she was telling me little things about to look out for my health, leg swelling, blood pressure, things like that. And, as a 19-year-old, you're like, okay, well, I'll just talk about it with my doctor and see what they say. And of course, they're like, you're a first-time mom. You don't have any history of this, that, and the third. So everything's going to be okay. Fast forward, I actually went into labor during finals week. And so that's already number one stressor. But luckily, I had professors that were like, hey, you don't have to take them. I also got a call to start a new job that same week. So, they're like, hey, take your 6 weeks. At the 6-week mark, you have to come to work. So at that point, I'm juggling school, I'm juggling work, and I'm trying to take care of a newborn baby. And, it sounds like it would be easy, or you think it would be easy while you're pregnant. And then everything kind of just hits you at once, You're the youngest one on your job. You don't know anything. They're looking at you like, why is she here? How did she get here? And at the same time, you're a new mom. You got people saying, if anything's wrong with the baby, it's the mom's fault. And then on top of that, you have school, which you kind of have to do because that's how you keep your job. And it's like everything was kind of tying in together, but it wasn't working together. So I kind of found myself throwing myself into the job, into school, which, I know that was to provide a better future for my son. But at the same time, you always got that guilt, like something is wrong, like you're not just giving him enough time. He's 6 weeks old. And so I'm just like, what to do. And I found myself closing off, if that makes sense. Just like, maybe I just need to, slow down on the school. Maybe I need to slow down at work. I'm a trainee. I'm expected to learn. But maybe I don't have to know everything on this job, at least not right off the bat. So I kind of clung to my son a little bit. And at the same time, my nurse, she was still coming after. She was still coming after I gave birth. So she's like, Ashunti, are you okay? And of course, you're like, I'm fine, because if you're not fine, what happens? They tell you things like, they're going to take the baby, and it's not safe for the baby to be with you if you're not fine. But the truth is, as a mom, you're not going to be fine all the time. There's always weight on your shoulder. And so I guess I got to a point where she started to say, hey, I see you're not fine. Let me help you. And my mom, she was doing the same thing. You're not fine. Let me help you. You have all this stuff going on. Let me help you. So I started to kind of lean on them a little bit more, maybe not hold the baby so close and trying to write a 10-page paper at the same time. Maybe not trying to sneak off to the daycare every 5 minutes while I'm at work. And yeah, it got a little hard, starting to, I guess, delegate tasks to other people. But I started to take more time for myself. Even now, I go to therapy. I I do take time with my mom. I wish I would have taken the time to work on my relationship, because when I was going through that time, you know, I'm already juggling so much. I really couldn't juggle a relationship too. So I feel like I failed as a co-parent because I wasn't myself and I wasn't able to, I guess, talk about what was going on with me. I guess if I had to tell anyone anything, it's just to say that it's okay not to be okay sometimes. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to cry. We all cry as moms. And we know that we all do what we have to do to get it done. But it's okay to let other people help you. You're not a bad parent because you let other people help you. That is a really bad stigma in the Black community, that if you allow help, that you're not a great mom, that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. It's okay to have self-care. And that's something I'm still learning. My son is 5 years old. I'm learning that it's okay to take a day to go to the spa. It's okay to send them to grandma's house to take a nap. Because if you're not okay, they're not okay either. And that's something that we all should know.
Thank you so much. That's so powerful. And again, you know, I'm glad that you addressed the stigma in our communities, you know, the superwoman schema, you know, that you're supposed to be able to juggle all of these things. And in reality, that's not the truth, right? Like it's really hard. And I just appreciate your honesty. And, you know, it's just what you shared is just so powerful. And I hope other, you know, birthing persons and moms and support systems hear what you had to say. Thank you for sharing your story. Dr. Burse, you know, you do a lot of work around the impact of systems on health, and you've created this powerful film. How do you help Black birthing persons deal with trauma in hearing the stats surrounding maternal mortality, and how that impacts them during pregnancy? And what strategies or techniques do you teach women, or in your research that you examine around dealing with trauma surrounding birth, especially with the stories we hear with, you know, what Brandi shared about not being heard by their physicians and the healthcare system?
Yeah, and first, just thank you, Brandi and Ashunti, for sharing your stories, because those stories, I feel like in public health, it's the stories plus the data that kind of drive our outcomes. And so if you've watched the film, you saw that kind of my dropping into this maternal health field, which I've been in, you know, for most of my career, but I think it's more about pouring my heart into it now, stemmed from my family's experiences. So in 2003, I lost my aunt 5 days after giving birth. And so even in that experience, I was a sophomore in college. My mother, single mom, she was not married. I think she was recently divorced at that time, had a sister that was a sophomore in high school. And so it was like this whole new baby comes, and it was a happy time. Like, we were all excited for her. And so we didn't know how to adjust at that time. And so then in 2016, my sister first, she was maybe 24 weeks pregnant, started feeling some pain. And as she felt that pain, she went back home, but she went to the emergency room and had preeclampsia. And so when she goes in, and first it's like, okay, well, our whole family is like on heightened awareness at that time, because we're saying, okay, we've seen this happen before. We need to figure out how to prevent it from happening again. And so I'm standing at the emergency room at 3 a.m. waiting for, the ambulance to get there. I'm not moving from her bedside. I'm trying to make sure that, I'm thinking about my aunt's situation, and I'm trying to, help her. And so they initially say, well, she'll be here for the duration of her pregnancy. So we're all like, okay, we can deal with that. And then, you know, maybe 24 hours later, they say, well, you know, it's not, her condition is not improving and we need to do something now. So that she gives birth, and I mean, a very severe bout of preeclampsia. And unfortunately, my nephew only lived 8 months. And so, you know, that was another crazy situation. And so then the same year, my sister-in-law, who was, her and my sister, I think were the same age, around 26, 27 years old. And my sister-in-law, I mean, fairly uncomplicated pregnancy. One day she says she's having a little bit of pain, and so goes into the emergency room. She was about 27 weeks, and they say, wait a minute, baby. They say, well, we're going to have to deliver. So they deliver the baby. That's another, you know, premature birth. And so she leaves, comes back via ambulance, and has to go on a ventilator for 3 weeks. And so we had to make the choice to, you know, take her off the ventilator. And so all of that had my public health wheels turning. I always say it's a blessing and a curse that I work in public health, because, you know, my wheels are always turning when these things happen. And so I can remember one day I said, okay, I've got to do something. And so that's how the thought for the film came. But I knew that in doing that, I didn't want it to be just something that you watch, because people will say, hey, you know, you should put this, you know, on YouTube. And I always say, no, I want people to watch with a purpose. And so we are using it for several reasons: for research, advocacy, and awareness as well. And so some of the things that we're doing now, I'm getting to your question, Natalie, but some of the things that we're doing, one thing right now is we have a project where we are pairing moms with doulas. And so, of course, we pair the moms with doulas, but as we were doing our research over the course of a year, we were trying to figure out, okay, so what do moms need? And we started hearing, you know, all of these things, especially during the pandemic. Okay, moms are working up to their due date, which I did too, but, you know, I had the luxury of sitting in the office. And so I didn't have to be up on my feet. But moms are working up to their due date because they need to save their time, and they need all of these other resources to pay their bills. And so we made some adjustments. And then during the pandemic, of course, we saw mental health as a big, big issue. And so we kind of adjusted our approach and decided that the doulas, then we give moms a stipend, and we also are able to give them group and personal mental health, so one-on-one. And our therapist is also allowing them to bring a partner in as well. So those are the things that we're doing with moms, but we also realize that here in Mississippi, of course, and I'm sure it is the same maybe across the South when it comes to doulas, they're not accepted in all hospitals. And so we're trying, and then the doulas that we work with, they want to be able to do this full time. But, you know, I thought that doula was, you know, just something for like, you know, affluent white women. I didn't know that that was an experience that we as Black women could have. And so when we started talking to doulas, they were saying, okay, we need business support. We need support for our business. And so we are developing a registry for the state of Mississippi for all birth workers. So whether it's a doula, whether it's a midwife, any type of lactation professional, they will be able to register their business there. And so that's one part of it. We're doing some education, continuing education for doulas. We're also doing capacity building around business, and we're helping some get insurance. So they are saying, well, you know, we even need insurance. And so we know that the research says, well, doulas significantly improve mothers' birth outcomes. And so if we can support doulas to be able to go out and really support moms, then we can support moms. And we also realize that, you know, a lot of people don't know about doulas. And so we've produced some additional videos around doulas as well as breastfeeding. And so those will be going out to social media very soon. But we know, like, for breastfeeding moms, I think Ashunti, you were talking about going back to work. And I was always fortunate enough to have an office, and I could close my office door and I could express my milk and go on. But most moms don't have that. And so we are trying to gain some business support around breastfeeding. So we produced a video around that that'll be coming out, as well as a video around just understanding what a doula is. And so those are just kind of some big approaches. But when we started working with moms, we decided that we were only work with 10 moms because we wanted to see how this approach worked. And so then maybe we could, expand it. And we didn't want to like get in over our heads. So y'all see that foot, he took the sock off, but we didn't want to get in over our heads. And so we started working with 10 moms. Within a month of working with the moms, we didn't even get to orientation yet. 2 went into preterm labor, which proves what we already know, and when I say preterm labor, very early, and one mom didn't have housing, and it was like this whole big thing. And so we started trying to gather more resources. So we've given them, we gave them cribettes, where we threw a very big baby shower where they got all types of things to support them, 15 pound boxes of produce. So just so many things. And my partners and I, we tend to go way overboard. And so we started thinking about, okay, what did we not have? And so we're trying to like provide that experience. And we realized that like so many Black women just don't have that beautiful experience. And so that's what we're trying to provide. And I know we want to serve so many women, but we want to make sure we get this right first. And so that's been my biggest thing. And the therapy is so important. We did some during the pandemic. And so the moms just needed it, and we provided them with cleaning supplies and just like these practical things. And that's what we don't always get. It's just those practical things, like you need a meal, you need cleaning supplies, and so those are the things that we've been trying to do. But another thing, we are working with the Mississippi Maternal Mortality Review Committee. And so we have been doing a lot of outreach and education around the Mississippi's report. And we were doing that through showing the film. But I told the young lady that worked with me, I said, look, I'm tired of talking. Everybody, we've been talking a lot. What can we do? And so now we're trying to create some checklists for moms that they can take into the doctor's office with them, so that they won't forget a question if they have questions. And so we're taking all of the information that we've heard from moms and putting it into practice now. I'm not the one that likes to belabor a point for so long. So I'm like, let's do it. So we've learned all this stuff. Now let's start working. So yes, I see it in the comment, creating those resources. So I think that's all I want to say right now. And Brandi, you said breaking up with your provider. That's one thing we always tell people, but we do always tell our moms, we know that Mississippi is very rural. We know that there are not so many options in some places. But if you have that opportunity to change providers, I don't care if it's 8-9 months, go ahead and do it, and do what feels good for you, and speak up for yourself. And so I think I'll stop there.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's powerful, and the work that you're doing in Mississippi is just amazing, and we know that it's so needed. And I'll also applaud you for being able to talk with your son in the background, because I don't know how you did it. I try to do it. My daughter does the same exact thing, wants to make an appearance through it all. A lot of you had mentioned your experiences during COVID, and Fatima, I know that you have been doing a lot, and the COVID-19 health crisis just really exacerbated the existing shortcomings in the nation's healthcare system. And as a result, out of all people that faced, a lot of the crisis, it was Black women, right? And pregnant Black women in particular reported enduring limited in-person prenatal care, limited support during labor, social isolation, and increased economic anxiety. Tell me how your organization sought out to address the challenges that came with the pandemic for Black birthing populations.
Oh, absolutely. Well, first I want to say I appreciate being here so much and all of the previous presenters. Dr. Burse, you held it down. I love the foot on the side of your face. And everybody, I appreciate your stories, and it just resonates with the work that we're also doing here in Phoenix. So we were really fortunate to be part of the Rose, one of the Rose VIPs. And so that with that funding, it allowed us to create a tele-wellness program. And that program we entitled Wellness Within Reach. And so what we did was we started working with our community to find out who had specialty areas so that they could present classes no matter whether you were in Phoenix or anywhere across the nation. And so we created this wealth of Zoom classes, from breastfeeding support to what to expect when you're getting ready to go into labor, to healthy cooking and nutrition. So just a gamut of things, how to access care. And it was very, very, very successful in those really deep months of COVID. And then we were on a community of practice. And this community of practice, years ahead of time, about a couple years ahead of time, we started learning about, more of the needs of our food system and how to be able to provide healthy food options and what resources were in our community, and building on some of the 2025 focus around food and health. So we also received some funds to be able to focus some very specific health and wellness food needs. So we partnered with an organization called Kareem's Cobbler Shop and Bakery, and they are well versed in food distribution. They work in the schools, and so their program was their part of the program was to enhance meals and access for the children's families that they were not providing food to in the school system, since they did the catering part. And then our portion was to also enhance meals to our families in the community, our Black and Brown families, BIPOC families. And we also put a focus on breastfeeding. So we made sure, a lot of our moms are anemic, so we made sure that they had access to like liquid plant-based vitamins. We made sure that they had access to silicone breast pumps, HACAs. We made sure they had access to fresh food. We would bring healthy meals to them postpartum. So we built that into our program. We also started to just listen. I mean, we are always listening, but we started to listen more intensely around what some of our families' needs were. So we partnered with another organization, the Sewell Potley Collective, because a lot of our moms wanted to have home birth and opt out of hospital, but the number increased. So we already offered home birth midwifery support, but one of the barriers is funding to be able to have a home birth. And so if families were a candidate for home birth and they wanted to opt out of hospital, we partnered with the Sewell Potley Collective, who had a birth fund. And out of that birth fund, they would cover their home birth midwifery care expenses, or they would cover any supplements, like if they needed a birth kit or if they needed breastfeeding supplies. And so we were able to cover those aspects of our families' needs who wanted to have home birth and bring their babies into their own environments. So we were still doing a lot of on the ground work to try to normalize this new normal. And we were taking a lot of COVID precautions. We were really observant of mental health needs for our families. We partnered with another Kimberly Moore Salas, who is an amazing lactation consultant here in the Phoenix area. She's one of the only native Dene lactation consultants in the nation. And so she would come into homes with us, and she would do one-on-one breastfeeding education, help moms to latch, troubleshoot any breastfeeding challenges. And this was all during COVID. And then we also, like I said, we would follow up with any online tele-wellness needs and health. And now that we're a little more post-COVID, we have started to, like Dr. Burse said, take another step further and put more action to what our families are saying their needs are. So one thing we need to do is to increase our workforce and to have more culturally reflective care. So we've started doing our doula training. We're up in our second week of 6 weeks, and we have about 7 women who are participating in that training. And we're layering it in a lot of different ways. We also have some support from Health Connect One to do a breastfeeding program and First Foods. And so we have a cohort of women who are prepared to train as breastfeeding advocates. We also have partnerships with a community organization. It's called Maggie's Place. Maggie's Place is a shelter for pregnant and parenting women. So we go in there and we're listening directly to our families who are residents. They have 4 homes, who are residents of those 4 homes, and finding out what their breastfeeding needs are, just listening to their stories and listening to how they're experts in their experience and what resources we can bring and how we can partner and address some of those needs. And then we also just make sure that we make ourselves available to families. So families call me all the time. They have my phone number, they have access, they have email, and sometimes they just need to have a conversation, you know, how they're feeling, what's going on with the baby, can they just chat? And so I personally am a product of the Birthing Project, the Phoenix Birthing Project, the National Birthing Project, Health Connect One, which was formerly Chicago Health Connection. And so they've been my supporters and mentors for a lot of years now. Also ICTC. So we've taken a lot of those principles of like sister friends and respecting our community, and our community are the experts. We are the experts in our own experience, and making sure that we're giving that respect to our community and we're listening and we're moving forward to address needs. What else? Some things that I heard from the previous presenters that have shown up is in these traumatic birth experiences is we had a family who had previously had very adverse history with the medical community before she had her first pregnancy. She decided she wanted to come into care. There were some things going on, so we sent her in for just a co-care consult. And in that consult, they told her that her blood pressure was really high, that she needed to go to the hospital right now, and they would probably deliver her. And she was 30 weeks. She was really, really, really frantic. And we had a conversation, and we went through that checklist, like Dr. Burse said, you know, make sure, well, actually, not Dr. Burse, Brandi. Brandi talked about asking the right questions, you know. So we said, 1, how many times did they check your blood pressure? Was the equipment working fine? Did they do it manually, or was it an electronic check? How do you feel? We helped her to identify the signs and symptoms of preeclampsia and make sure she knows what's going on in her body. So we went over all that checklist, and she was like, well, no, I don't have headaches, and no, you know, I don't feel like I'm swelling, and, you know, my blood pressure wasn't high before because I've been checking my blood pressure. And so we went through that whole checklist, and then I said, okay, well, what do you want to do from here? Do you want to go directly to the hospital? Do you want to go home? How are you feeling in your body? And she said, I have an option to leave. I said, absolutely, you have an option to leave, but you have to make that choice, not me. And you have to go through your checklist and scan your whole body and see how you feel moving forward. And she did that. We were so proud of her. She went home to her mom and dad's house. She rechecked her blood pressure. She was like, Fatima, I feel so much better. I just needed to eat and I needed to relax. And I felt like I was just that white coat syndrome. I feel like I was really scared. And she moved forward all the way to the end of her pregnancy. She made it to about 39 weeks. And at that time, she went into labor. There were some things that were going on. Just in terms of the labor, we sent her in to the hospital. She advocated for herself. She came back home. And then at that point, her partner was like, Fatima, we have to have our baby here. You know, we can no longer be in this medical community. And everything was fine. You know, we always just make sure we're collaborating when we see things that could be awry. And her partner expressed himself. There were some tears that came, and he said, my son, has the best chance of life being born at home, and we need to have him here. I feel safe here. I feel like, you know, we're loved here, we're nurtured here, and we'll do whatever we need to do to bring our baby into the world. And they had an amazing birth. Baby was healthy, breastfeeding went well. Baby is getting ready to turn a year old now. And all of these wins have been celebrated. And one of the main things that she has said was that I learned to make sure that I'm empowering myself and that I can advocate for myself. I know what's normal, I know what's abnormal, and they are a thriving, phenomenal family, mom, dad, and baby, which is what we stand for. We stand for empowering moms, dads, and babies, and our mission is that every family thrives. And so when we hear stories like that and we see wins like that, it makes us feel good because it's not about us, it's about the family, and now they can move forward and be advocates. And that family is also preparing to take the breastfeeding advocacy training into partner and go back into the community and provide mutual aid for us. So that's our story.
Thank you so much, and for the work that you do for your community. You know, one of the
pleasure.
things that I've been hearing is always, you know, like the onus always seems to be on Black women to solve the issue, right? Like, we got to create the solutions, we got to do this. What should be happening? If you can reimagine how the health system can change, or how, you know, or where responsibility should shift to, what would you imagine this to be like if you can have this like magic pill or have all the resources in the world?
Who are you directing that question to?
It can be to anyone, whoever
Okay.
wants to answer. I saw Brandi raise her hand.
I would say if I can wave a magic wand or a pin in the air, but truly this could start happening. It's really starting with the physicians, starting with the people who are in the healthcare system, having them first identify any implicit biases that they have. Like, first and foremost, digging deep to see what is being taught to you, what has been already ingrained in your brain from childhood, and how is it coming out in the way that you care for Black women, the way that you care for us during the healthcare system during this process. So identifying any of those biases and addressing them immediately and finding ways to be trained and be open to being developed to get rid of them, because that comes off in our care. That's just what it is. We're not being listened to because of, you know, we already know the million studies that have been done, how they feel as though Black women can tolerate pain more. You know, this is why they don't offer pain medication. I mean, we can dig deeper on a lot of that. Another thing I would think is, look, I'm putting everything, the responsibility off of our shoulders and back on theirs. Another thing would be to say, you know what? Think every single day, how can you go A and B? How can you go above and beyond for your patient that day? Granted, you have a million of them a day. They're all running through it. It is what it is. It's jam-packed. But during that moment, what can you do to blow their mind? That should be on their mind every single day when they come into the office, or you walk into your office space or your hospital. What can I do to blow Brandi's mind? She's a first-time mom. What can I tell her to go ahead and check out and read to go the extra mile, because I've gotten to know her, because I know she likes to do research? What can I do to say, hey, you know what? You told me about that Zumba class you took last month. How did it go? What can I do to build that personalization factor and create this relationship? Because I know this mom is going to feel good and she's going to trust me. And then the last thing is, treat people how you want to be treated. What if I was your daughter? What if it was your niece, your cousin, your best friend? Go that extra mile for me as if you would if it was someone you knew personally. It's nothing like that feeling of just feeling, because this is the most vulnerable time we will ever be in our entire lives. We will be any other time. We can come in armor. We can show up as this woman who is the superhero, strong. But during that time, please let me relax. I want to take it off. I don't want to have to go through that. I want to relax and enjoy this process. And it's your job to make sure I do. And if you're not going to do that, I have to go where someone is. So I think that I would take that magic wand and just go hit every single hospital and doctor. Boom, boom, boom. Everyone's getting hit to say, let's change up the way you're thinking. Let's identify it. You're not perfect. We want to do this together. We love what you do. You're the subject matter experts. We're grateful for you. However, you have some opportunity and some growth that needs to happen in order for me to feel okay, and in order for every single woman to walk through your door and have their mind blown. You should walk out feeling like, oh my God, I feel so good. It's so great. And if I don't feel like that, and if your patients do not, we've got a problem. So I would start there.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and unfortunately, like every single implicit bias training that gets offered, it's always our own people taking it and not the populations that actually need to take the bias training. Dr. Burse, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, Natalie, that I made that exact same comment a couple of weeks ago at one of those trainings. I'm like, okay, we're the choir. We need more people coming in, but I do want to take what Brandi said and like bring it back just a little bit more, because I think I saw someone say something about dehumanizing our body. Just the other day, we saw the talk about medical apartheid, and you know that book sticks with me always when I think about the Flexner report and how like it just basically did away with our medical schools and made it much harder for us to have Black providers, and just the work that has been done you know, on the Black body as just this experimental tool. And so then this system is built that way. And so then when someone comes in and wants that experience that Brandi is talking about, they're not even looked at in that manner. So they're not given that same, you know, that same quality of care. So I think my magic wand would not be to change history, but to acknowledge history and correct all of these missteps. And part of that is that, you know, we have to, when we talk about these physicians and the healthcare system, we talk about like how they've been trained. And so one of the things that we are doing that I failed to mention a little bit earlier is we're creating a health and racial equity in maternal care course. And so we'll be piloting that course in a nursing school, a school of public health, and a school of social work, all of those professions that touch moms. And so we're trying to take that off of moms too, because when people say, well, what can we do? What can moms do? And sometimes I'm at a loss for words. Like, I really don't even know what you can do, because you can do everything. My family members checked off the boxes. They had the degrees, they had the careers, they had the family support, and they still did not come out with favorable conditions. And so I'm often taken aback by that question. So that's why I think more of my work focuses on, okay, how can we change the people that treat us or change the systems that treat us? And so that's where my magic wand would go.
Thank you so much. And Fatima.
I agree with everything that's been said. The thing that stands out for me is that the system isn't broken, it's designed that way. And so in the system being designed that way, there's only so much change that we can create. And so we have to go upstream, so to speak. And when our babies are small, we have to normalize normal. So you have to know that your body is designed to do certain things, and you have to have the owner's manual to your body. So having the owner's manual to your body, we, nourishing ourselves well, our minds, our bodies, our spirits. And then when we are educating and when we are training, we are already starting at a young age to train our little people that this is how this works. This is what is normal. This is what is abnormal. And then, training up our culturally reflective providers and really making sure that we know who our allies are. And in the event, we can go to people that we trust, and we can go to the appropriate channels. So if a birth is high risk and it's outside of the realm of normal, then go to a hospital. If a birth is normal and you feel comfortable and you feel like, you can manage your pain, then, you may want to go to the home birth side. And then you still have that middle ground where you can go to a birth center. So really looking at what is appropriate for you and where you're at in your own experience. And then also taking the fear out of the fear factor, that false evidence appearing real. And then going back to empowerment. How can we empower ourselves? So no matter what the system is, or no matter what the institution is, the rules, the policies, the procedures, your rights, your responsibilities. And whatever choice you make, you have to be okay with making that choice and whatever the consequences are that come with that, and that we don't stand alone. We need support. And so when we go into these systems, or when we recreate our systems, that we're never standing alone, because when you are in your body and you're in that experience, you're vulnerable. You're powerful, but you're also vulnerable. So making sure that we have our brothers and our sisters and our family and our community by our side, because we can take information in only as much as we are able, depending on what our situation is. But our family, our community, that support system that protects us based on our backgrounds of experiences, we can receive that information a different way, and we can be proactive instead of reactive to support our community to make better choices and have greater outcomes.
Thank you, Fatima. I appreciate that. And you brought up something about our brothers, right? We have, it's roles and then reaching our brothers everywhere. And a lot of people, I had a focus group with Black fathers yesterday, and, they were talking about the systems and how the systems are almost made to exclude Black men from a lot of these processes, or when women need additional financial support, she can get it as long as the Black father is not in the picture. What, to all of the panelists, what about our brothers? What role do Black fathers play around birth trauma and recovery and resilience? And how can we uplift them in this process? And Fatima, since you're on, you can go ahead.
Oh my goodness, I was like, me, please me. I love our Black dads so much. They show up and we don't see that. It's not normalized. I see it though. I see it in care. I see it when the tears come and they don't have the words, but they do have the words, but they have to, there's a saying that you can be an angry Black woman, but you can't be a Black man with a voice. And so their voice is being stifled. Their hearts are so big. And so normalizing and visualizing our Black men and showing their importance and making those images of our dads who are supporting us and who are there normal and visible. And one thing we tell our families in care is that, we break generational curses, right? And one way that we break generational curses is that, especially in home birth or any place where you have your baby, that if your partner is involved, that father be the first to put their hands on that baby, to touch that baby, and to bless that baby when they come into the world. And that bond is stronger than anything that you've ever seen in your life. And we also tell them that we value your health and that you have to value your health, because if your partner is concerned about you, it takes too much energy from that birthing person, from that mom. And so we always want the fathers to know that they're valuable, and we want them to be involved and step up, and that dads are a really integral part of this experience. And for those who, I know I'm going to the other end of the spectrum, but for those moms who are choosing abortion, where the fathers or the partners had not said, like, I'll be there to support you, or, we can do this. Everybody's decisions may be different. But sometimes just having that partner to say, like, we're there, we can get through this, whether we're together or not, can make all the difference in the world. So that's how powerful they are. One word, one hug, one love of support, whether the partners are together or not, can make all the difference in the world.
Thank you. Ashunti, I saw your hand up.
Yes, so as you know, I'm divorced. So, this Black men thing, this is really, it's hard for me to talk about, because I know had I been able to talk more and lean on my partner, I probably wouldn't be divorced right now. I think that as the stigma of being a super mom and superhero all the time, we kind of forget that you do have a partner, not a sidekick, but an actual partner. And they kind of need your help too. We often go and get help for ourselves, but we don't include them. And I think what we should do is, open up more and let them kind of know what's going on, rather than have them, walking on eggshells. Kind of, I guess, we separate the family when we don't allow them to help. So I think for our Black men, we need to support them. We need to tell them what we need instead of just trying to, I guess, assume that they know. And we also need to get them more resources so that they kind of, can see the signs and symptoms as well, because none of us knew, like when I first became a mom, I didn't know that postpartum lasted longer than, the first 6 weeks. I didn't know that. And, he definitely didn't know that. So I'm over here depressed, you know, needing help, don't want to ask for help. And he's like, man, she just don't love me. She just don't want me around. So it's like, how can I expect him to help me if he's not given the tools and the resources either? We're both kind of sinking in my depression. So yes, I would just say give them more resources, encourage therapy. Black men do not like therapy. I don't know why. This is something that they need. They should use. Black mental health is real, men. And yes, let's make this work. Let's keep these families together.
Thank you so much. That's so powerful. Brandi and then Dr. Burse.
Yes, I mean, amazing. Everything the presenters just said. I mean, I could not agree 100% more. Of course, with giving and having access to more resources, education is going to be the key, because a lot of times you'll find, you know, Black men and fathers who are in that room, you know, lack of knowledge just breeds fear. So it makes them feel like, you know, I'm not too sure what to do. I want to kind of step in and cut the doctor off, or what if I break something? You know, I've seen, you know, and had some feedback from family members who said, I was scared if I touched anything, I would just mess it up. So I just stood off to the side, and that mom didn't feel supported. So knowing that, you know, the more you know about what's going to happen on that day, or throughout pregnancy, or even during postpartum, that empowers you, empowering them to know that. Most importantly, giving them access to videos. One thing about it, my husband and I sat down and he said this, he said, I got one goal, okay, to get you and my son out alive. That is my goal. And he is totally different than me, his personality. So I'm all, he is cool, calm, collected, and he went in there with a mission. And I was like, whoa, what is up with him? And I told him this, one thing I want, you know, Black fathers to know is to be on the same page when it comes to that birth plan. That document is everything. Granted, labor and delivery goes to the left, to the right, up and down, but at least you can have some consistency, and you know the desires of your heart for your pregnancy, postpartum experience, labor and delivery experience, have it all written down, but he should know it line for line. And I told him this, I said, all right, print out like 2 or 3 copies of it and then we'll be good to go. He said, okay, great. This man printed out 10. And we get into labor room. He's handing it out to the people cleaning the room. I said, babe, they don't need one. He said, anyone who's in this room is getting one. And he's handing it out. And he said, you need me to go over this with you? And she was like, I'm just here to grab the sheets. And he said, oh, okay, my bad. And then he went on and on, but he was on the same page to know what exactly my wife wanted, because during that time, I'm not the normal sharp Brandi. I'm not me. I was literally in a fog for some of it. And to be honest, one part that I did leave out, and because I didn't want to make our story too long, throughout my labor, I'm laboring down, and they hadn't checked me for almost 6 hours. And he said, you know, we wanted to be checked. And I'm just in la la land with the peanut ball in between my legs and just laying there, and I'm kind of loopy. And he said, he's getting like, you know, just the advocacy piece, like, wait a minute. He asked the L&D nurse, when are we going to even meet our doctor who's going to deliver the baby? Oh, she's busy. She'll be in soon. He said, okay. She comes back an hour later. He said, look, listen, it's been since 4 a.m. and my wife has not been checked. You check her then. And then the L&D nurse is like, wait, we're going to wait for her. He said, no, you check my wife. It makes no sense that she has not been checked. I had never seen him buck up like this, because he's mad now. She said, fine, I'll check her. She went to check me, and my son was sitting in the canal. She only got about half of literally a finger in, and he had been sitting there. And he said, you mean to tell me my son was sitting here and you didn't even, if I hadn't told you to check her, who knows what could have happened? And she said, okay, I'll be back. She runs out, the doctor comes in literally 2 minutes later. But remember, she was so busy prior to that. So it's power in our Black men being able to use their voice to be able to say, no, you need to get this done now because I said so. Owning that room, owning that whole experience, and most importantly, supporting your partner, because at that time, I'm not normally myself. Even if you know your wife or your partner or whoever it is, that strong woman usually, and she can handle it. No, she can't. Just assume she cannot. Be that best support partner for her, be that best friend that she needs. But most importantly, know that we're going to get things done and have that ultimate goal, get you and your partner out alive. That is what we're trying to do. And most importantly, have the experience that you desire, because both of y'all deserve it, because it's the dad's experience too. It's not just us delivering as well. That whole thing of labor and delivery is going to leave a mark on their minds for the rest of their lives too. So let's make it enjoyable, and let's make it honestly a great experience for all of us.
Thank you so much. Very powerful. Dr. Burse.
Brandi, I think you said it all. That was amazing. Only thing I want to say is, I remember just a few, maybe months ago, I had a conversation with Mama Shafia Monroe. Many of you have probably know her. And I was just soaking it all up. And one thing that she said was, don't leave out our Black men. And so I think even in our programming, we need to be more inclusive of our partners and Black men in it, because none of us know what to do. My husband was at every single appointment with me. And even when it came to like my postpartum checkup, he was like, do you need me to go? I was like, boy, no, stay where you are. I don't need all that, but so just make sure we include them, but also communication, because to your point, Ashunti, I can remember like with my first one, I was just like so overprotective. And one day my husband came in and said, you don't let nobody do anything to that baby, but you think you're the only person that can do it right. And in my head, I was like, I am. But then I said, okay, he may not do it like I do it, but as long as the baby is happy and healthy, then that is fine. And I had to really, come to Jesus with that. And the last thing is those education classes. We went to some of those childbirth education classes and nobody looked like me in there. And we were just like, okay, I don't even know what this is. And so I don't think any of that helped. And I didn't even have a birth plan. I just know that I had a little sticky note and I was like, I know I can't take narcotics. And I handed that to him and told him, look, just don't let me die. Don't let them kill me. And that's exactly what I told him. But he did document everything, but I do think we leave our partners out in our discussions a lot. And, everything is tailored toward mom. And my husband and I we'll go tit for tat. Now he'll say, well, I was a part of it too. I'm like, boy, I pushed these kids out, but he was a part of it. He was there every step of the way, taking pictures every hour on the hour. And so he should feel included in that. So, and I thank whomever that was for lifting that question, because it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was something that I definitely wanted to bring up, especially because it was so fresh on my mind to hear these men talking about their experiences and how they feel left out, but how they really want to be involved. And even with my own experience with my husband as well. And, he was there he did the same thing, Brandi. He had a copy of the birth plan. He made sure everyone knew exactly what I wanted. And I just appreciate him and all of our brothers for everything that they do for us. So we have 3 minutes, and I just wanted to end with each of you saying, because I know we can talk for a long time, but just one sentence, which I know will be hard, of what you want to leave about birth trauma, our Black brothers, just anything related to our discussion today. If you had one piece of advice or one statement you wanted everyone to remember that's watching our panel. So we'll start with you, Ashunti.
I would just say, know your body, learn it. I'll keep it there.
Thank you. Brandi?
Oh, I hate having it. I want to talk a lot. No, I would say this, be confident in your abilities and be okay with using your voice. It's the most powerful instrument that you will ever have. Be confident in your abilities and be absolutely okay with using your voice.
Thank you. Fatima?
Everything that everybody else said. And love, lots of love, and layering that love and support, and making sure that you have the right person in your corner. So if it doesn't feel right, then change.
Thank you. Dr. Burse?
I will say collaboration when it comes to programming. No one organization can do it all. And I say that because I want to shout out the Jackson Safer Childbirth Experience who's on here. Those are the doulas that we work with our project. And so collaboration will get everything. So it takes a village.
Thank you so much. And I just want to thank everyone for being on the panel and uplifting your stories. And, just what I really wanted was to center your lived experiences. And I hope that happened during this panel. One thing I wanted to bring up too is a partnership between Reaching Our Sisters Everywhere and Morehouse School of Medicine. Today we were talking about, surviving birth trauma, and we're actually doing story collection of women's birth experiences. And so if you're interested, please visit our booth. We're also including the voices of women who are incarcerated or have been recently released, because oftentimes their stories are left out and they have so many experiences. And there's a lot of work that we still need to do. As everyone said, listen to Black moms. If you can put in the chat what that means, because I think oftentimes people say, well, we are listening, but how are you listening? Listen with intention, listen with everything, not just your ears, but your actions as well. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. This has been amazing. I mean, I just can't wait to connect afterwards. Brandi, as always, you steal the show. You steal the show. But go visit her handle. And if all of you, again, visit their profiles, visit the organizations that they represent, and let's support Black-led organizations in our mission to save, because if anyone is going to do the saving, it's always left up to us and our organization. So reinvest and invest in our own communities. Thank you so much. And I think we have a break.
Thank you so much, everyone. That was phenomenal. That was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. Thank you, Natalie, for moderating that. So we're going to go to a quick break. I just wanted to let you all know there is a summit booklet that has been posted in the WOVA app, or will be in the next few minutes. So if you guys want to check that out and continue to engage in the chat on WOVA, the chat here in Zoom, and also continue these very important conversations. We'll see you all in 15 minutes. Thank you.